Welcome back to another Blender video. So in this video, we will talk about the shader editor. I have a little scene set up here, but the frisbee is not textured. So let's go ahead and split the window, open the shader editor, and add a new material from the button at the bottom here. Now when you add a new material, you will get a principal BSDF. So in the principal BSDF, you will find base color, metallic, roughness, IOR alpha. If you want to have more advanced stuff, you can go for subsurface scattering, transmission, etc. Now principal shader is kind of a mix of all these shaders, but it doesn't have all the specific functions, and you may not need these shaders unless you are mixing shaders, which you can add a mix shader and add both shaders like this. But let's just work with the basic principal shader. Now Blender works in PBR, so if you need a plastic shader here, you can also just change the color and have a less higher roughness, a little bit of metallic, but the normals are missing, the roughness texture is missing. These are things that get together and make the model much more realistic. So let's go to the browser and type free PBR. You will find free PBR materials, polygon, ambient CG. Let's go to ambient CG. In ambient CG, you will find surfaces on the top left corner here, and let's look for a plastic. There's a nice yellow plastic I want to use. And under the plastic, you will find different resolutions which you can download the material in. There's 1K, 2K, 4K, and 8K. Be careful, if you don't need this much resolution, please don't download this because it will increase your render time. And if you have too many 8K textures, the render will actually crash, and every time you hit render, it may crash over and over. So let's download the 2K JPEG here. And when you go back to Blender, we will have color, displacement, and we have two normals actually. Blender works with OpenGL, so you can ignore the DirectX normal file, and there is roughness. So we can manually add this here, or what we can do is go to Edit, Preferences, Add-ons, and look for the Node Wrangler. You can turn on the Node Wrangler here if you have it, or if you don't, go to Extensions, type Node Wrangler, and you will find it here, and you can click the Install button, and it will be activated with the checkbox right here. So with the Node Wrangler, let's click the principal shader, hold Ctrl, Shift, and hit T. It will open the file viewer of Blender. Let's select the displacement, OpenGL normal, roughness, and color. Now as you can see, these are automatically connected with some additional nodes. So normal map is it's a node to convert a float to a vector. A vector is a 3-value attribute type, like the scale here, which is on the X, Y, and Z axis. So moving on to the left side here, you will find texture coordinates and mapping. Texture coordinates is basically how do you want the texture to be applied to the mesh. In this case, I have selected UV here. So UV is basically like a banana being wrapped around by the banana cover. So this texture is being wrapped around this object according to my UV unwrapping. Let's talk about UV unwrapping on a different video. But right now, let's focus on the shader. If you want to take a look at what these textures look like, you can hold Ctrl, Shift, and left mouse button here. You will find what the roughness map is actually doing. The black part is more reflective, and the white part is less reflective. If you increase the metalness, it will make it more and more shiny and looks more like metal. And apart from that, there is subsurface scattering and there is transmission. So subsurface scattering, it works like if you have a light in the back of your ear, you will have a red part which is glowing inside from your ear. That is called subsurface scattering. And transmission is basically a glass shader. If you increase transmission, it will become a glass. If it doesn't happen, which means you have too much roughness or metallic, there you go, a nice glass. Finally, let's add a texture for the label here. I've already generated an image using Gemini. I'm just going to drag and drop it here, connect it to base color. And there is one more node that I want to talk about, which is the noise texture node. If you just type texture, you will find a bunch of nodes there actually. There's wave texture, brick texture, magic texture, and noise texture. So magic texture is really a fiber texture, and there is also Voronoi texture, which is like a cell fracture texture. You can play with the settings and see for yourself what they do. It's pretty interesting and pretty cool. Let's add the noise texture here, connect it to a roughness, and here you can also add a color ramp node to control the roughness when the value is closer together, so you can really see the effect happening on the side there. You can either increase the scale here or Control T and you'll find the mapping connected there. And there we go, the basics of the shader editor. So there is so much that I did not cover for the sake of keeping this video basic and short, and I did cover some things that are a little bit advanced, but it's pretty fun to play with the power of Blender. So that's it for today's video. Stick around for the next video where we'll talk about the compositor editor and how we can make our images look much better. So until then, have a good one.